Our guest today is Kсавие Марсенак, co-founder and executive director of Насекомо ID. We are going to talk about food sustainability. Food security is at the top of world agenda right now. G7 allocated new billions for food security and food crisis. And in this context, it's very important not only to optimize the existing supplies, but also to find new sources of nutrients. What are the alternative proteins and how could they help to feed the planet?
Well, you know, alternative proteins are the new revolution. We've seen in the past the IT revolution. We've seen that countries like Bulgaria managed to be on the way of the IT revolution and be successful. Now it's a new revolution. It's the new food chain, new food security, alternative protein. Now it's time for Bulgaria to go on to this new revolution of the alternative proteins.
Could you give some example for alternative proteins?
Yes, so there's many different alternative proteins on the market. It starts from what you could call the plant-based meat, which are basically vegetables with some additive, and you can have a burger that looks like a real burger, tastes like a real burger, but it's plants. You have what we call microcells, which are based on mushrooms. You've got cell meat, which is meat made in a laboratory, so that's very early stage. You've got insect-based food and feed, which are also alternative proteins, and many, many more coming on the market.
You're a co-founder and executive director of Nasecommo, one of the pioneers in biotechnologies in Bulgaria. You are producing proteins from insects, actually. Could you tell us more about this?
Yes, what we're doing is quite unique and it's quite innovative. There's very few companies in the world actually in this field of operation, and even less in the region. So we are the only company in the Balkans. There are 2-3 companies in Central and Eastern Europe, and we are by far the largest company. So what we are doing is that we are developing a circular economy model in which in the future there will be large plants recycling or upcycling co-product from the agro industry, for example beer waste, transforming this product which was otherwise wasted or burnt into larvae of insects, and from this larvae you extract the protein and the oil, which are high-value products. So we are turning a low-value material into a high-value material. And what we are doing at Nasecommo is that we're helping this industry to grow. To do that, we are developing a number of tools. We call us the insect enablers. We're developing the technology to build this and to process this product. We are building the know-how. We are building the data solution, including machine learning, artificial intelligence tools, and we are developing all the know-how around the biology of the insect. And all this together, we package it and we sell it to people that want to have their own insect factories. Our aim is not to produce, insect-based products, but to help others produce insect products.
How exactly can be used insect-based proteins for food of animals, for human food? In what kind of products exactly?
So you have two very different dimensions. Insect for food, it's not very popular in Europe, and I don't think it will be popular for a long time. There are a lot of cultural, barriers to that. But in other countries, in Asia, in Africa, it's widely used. But it's different kind of insects. So we are not involved in this business at all. What we're looking at is insect for feed. So we want to feed animals with insects. And why we want to do that? Because it's quite natural. I mean, the dogs in the backyard, they look for flies and they eat the flies. The chicken is looking for worms and eat the worms. So we are telling our logo is saying our company is back to nature, because really it's a simple solution. Feeding animals with insects is very natural because they've been doing that for thousands and tens of thousands of years. Whereas feeding animals with soya, it's quite not natural because 50 years ago there was no soya in Europe. So now you're feeding mostly the chicken, the pigs, etc., but it's not natural. What we're doing is getting back to naturality.
Are there some risks from using insect proteins for the health of the animals or the humans consuming these animals?
To the opposite. Actually, we are in a very regulated industry. So the European Food Safety Agency, EFSA, made studies for many, many years on the usage of insect-based protein into the animal feed. And the conclusion was that there is absolutely no risk. They did the same for certain species for human food. And the conclusion was the same, and this is why they've been publishing papers recently on this subject. But if I come back to the insect protein itself, fed to pet food, for example, for your dogs or your cats, there's lots of studies that have demonstrated that they are improving the health of the animal, especially the gut health of the animal is getting better, the skin is getting better, and our product is a premium product today, and in Western Europe, where it's more popular, it's used to feed dogs and cats who are sick, and it's a medicament. So it helped to heal these dogs and cats with the insect protein.
There are some fears that insects grown for industrial purposes, if they are released by accident in the local environment, could do some harm to put in risk the local ecosystems. Is this possible?
Well, there's always a risk, and people are always scared about things they don't know about. But first, insects which are looked into industrial areas, they are looked very seriously. They're the assets of the industry. So there are lots of mechanisms to make sure they don't leave the location. Box in the box in the box, so we call it. So that's the secure part of it. But then you have to think that insects live in the nature, and they don't attack people. They don't cause a threat to people. So if we take the example of the insect that we're looking at, which is called the black soldier fly, which is basically look at it mostly in the larval phase, because 36 days it's a larvae and 4 days it's an adult. So what we look at is we grow the larvae, and we have a very limited number of adults, actually flies that fly, in specific cages and boxes. To this specific insect, it has no mouse. So if you have no mouse as a fly, and you go outside, you cannot transport any diseases, which other insect, maybe the common fly, would do. You cannot eat, so you cannot be a pest and attack things. You cannot drink, and then you have no energy. So the black soldier fly, adults, has a lifetime about 4 days. During the 4th day, there's this reproduction cycle, and then basically after the animal will die naturally. So even so there were some flies getting out of the plant, etc. After 4 days, they will die. They will not resist to the outside conditions because it's a tropical fly, so it needs very strong, high temperature, high humidity inside the plant they're designed for. And they have no energy, they cannot fly very far away. They fly 5 meters, 10 meters, and then they drop. So that's, I think, the answer to your question. And repeating, no risk.
Thank you. You have some activities in Bulgaria. Could you share more about it? You have here some facilities, planning others?
Yes, so we started our business in Bulgaria 5 years ago. We've done a lot of research and development activities for all these years. And now we are deploying what we call an industrial demonstrator. So it's close to Sofia. In this industrial demonstrator, we are demonstrating the way our technology are working. As I mentioned earlier, our company is developing technology. We are an insect enabler. This technology will be sold to other parties or the company that want to build their own insect factories. So we have developed technology. It's highly technical. It's a robotized line to grow the insect, with the insect larvae. It's monitored with lots of sensors and data analytics, etc. And this is what we are testing now. And we are showing to potential customers that want to buy this equipment. So that's most of the things we are doing here in Bulgaria today. In the future, we will be looking at selling this equipment to someone that wants to have a proper insect protein plant. We have several projects under consideration, some in Bulgaria, some outside Bulgaria. For example, we have lots of interest from companies in Romania, in Greece, in Serbia, in Ukraine as well, interested by the technology that we've developed and willing to buy and deploy it into their locations.
And how is Bulgaria situated in this emerging market?
So, we're talking about alternative protein as the new revolution, the new IT industry. It's very early stage for all the different type of protein which I mentioned. I think Bulgaria has a unique chance today because it's an early market. There's a few other companies. We are doing insect, but there's company involved in other type of alternative protein in Bulgaria and the region. It's very early stage, and now is the time to invest, develop, grow company in the region to become leaders. And with that, Bulgaria could be one of the leading country in Balkan and even in Central and Eastern Europe. And we can develop, pole of excellence, R&D, create lots of jobs, create a lot of value, create highly paid jobs of scientific, IT, biologists in the country, and go and help other countries to develop these new alternative protein industries.
But in the same time, your activity met some public unease, some public fears. Did you manage to address these fears to ease the local people?
When you do something new, innovation, people are always scared. When we had Edison inventing the electricity, everybody was scared about what's happening. Everybody wanted to go. When you have the first train arriving in the station of Lyon, everybody was running because they think they were going to be smashed by the train. So it's the same story. We know, innovators, they all have problems. So here we're developing innovations. These innovations start to be pretty well developed in Western Europe, in the UK, in France, in the Netherlands, which are the leading countries already, and we are, deploying similar innovation in this place here. So, to answer your question, I think we've done a lot of explanation, education. That's what is needed. When you come with something new, you need to explain to people. And I think we've addressed, all the fears of the people. We've talked to many people. We had people coming to visit the plant. We made special materials. We even went to schools. We even visited like 5 or 6 schools already, and we have special programs. Bring Nasekoma to your school so we can explain to people why insects are so important for them, how we are growing them, what's going to happen in the future.
You mentioned the regulation on European level. Are there some regulation on Bulgarian level?
So it's the same regulation. European, we are within the European Union, so we define the European Union level, the regulation, and then they're applied in the different countries. So the European regulation will be applied, or are being applied actually, in Bulgaria. Sometimes they need to be adapted locally. Sometimes they need to be interpreted because there's no specific laws to which or segment to which to attach them. And so we are working with the local authorities, the local government and institution to help them understand the European regulation so they can make them successfully applied in Bulgaria.
Do you have some expectations, some forecast when, for example, this type of proteins, this type of food would be popular, would be accepted?
So if we talk about the feed industry, it's already popular, accepted, and there's many reasons for that. The first reason, as I mentioned, it's like a drug to fix the health of some animals. So now, if you go to, we were in Nuremberg a couple of weeks ago at the International Pet Food Fair. About 1/3 of all the pet food companies were offering products with insect-based because of all the benefits of the insect-based product. One thing. Another example, we've used insect oil into the feed for pigs, for example, with the idea to replace antibiotics. And we've been doing several tests in several farms, and we've seen that you can replace antibiotic with such an unnatural product with insect oil, which is a natural product, and have the same effect at the end on the health of the good health of the animals. So again, showing that there's very lots of functional benefits around these products. So pleased to say that insect for feed, it's clear that there's benefits about healthcare, there's benefits about sustainability. Don't forget that our business is circular economy, so we are zero waste. Everything that comes in comes out as a product. We have zero emission. There's no emission in the air, whatever. Everything is controlled. We have zero wastewater. So like compared to other industries, zero wastewater. So it's quite efficient, 0, 0, 0. And what you can see that there's not that many industries that are so efficient. And if you look at all the statistics about sorry, how many square meters of land, how much energy, how much water you need to produce a certain kind of food, the insect is very much more efficient than anything on the planet.
What about human food?
So if we're talking about human food, it's a cultural issue. So just think about, give you an example, sushi. 40 years ago, did you eat sushi? Or did anyone eat sushi? No, everything, when the sushi comes from Japan, everything, wow, raw fish, disgusting. Nowadays, everybody's eating sushi because they find it quite natural. So it's a culture, it takes time. And maybe in 40 years, we'll have another discussion, I hope, and we can discuss again about, eating insect, and you'll find it quite normal.
This will be normal.
This will be already here. And, but this takes time, and this is why we are, as a company, we're concentrating on the insect for feed. We're developing technologies for company to produce insect protein for feed and insect oil, because we think it's very important, and it's very much helping on the climate change, or reducing the climate change on the planet. And one thing which we didn't touch about, but it's the what we call the insect frass. So our co-product from the production is organic fertilizer called insect frass with exceptional qualities. And a few tests we've done here in Bulgaria, actually, with farmers, they were shocked because give them the insect frass instead of using the normal chemical fertilizer or organic fertilizer, and they saw that the plants were growing much faster and much bigger. So they were a bit scared what's happening. They said, well, that's normal because there's lots of chitin in the insect frass, lots of good minerals also that goes into the ground, and we are regenerating the soil. So soil regeneration is none other than a byproduct of what we are doing.
Thank you for this interesting conversation. Do you have something else to add, a message to share with our public?
Well, I think, as we said before, the most important thing is thinking about the future. A new revolution is coming up. Let's not miss the train. Let's be here on the plane. And let's, I think Bulgaria has unique capacities. It's an agricultural country. There's lots of well-trained people. There's a lot of people that understand the need to fight climate change here. And I think that all together we can do some very good activity, business, create high-value jobs in the country, and show to the rest of the world that Bulgaria is different from what was maybe in the past.
Thank you very much for this conversation again.
You're welcome. Thank you.